Hello everyone, this is Nela speaking for the Girl with the Curly Hair Project, and today I will be talking to you about social acceptance versus social inclusion. When it comes to being social, us autistic people will always have a bit more difficulty than people who have a neurotypical brain. People who have a neurotypical brain and tend to do well socially flock into groups, which is very normal human behavior. When someone flocks into a group or becomes part of a group, they have to abide by certain group rules. If you don't, you either leave the group or the group tells you to go. Not in so many words is always the case, but that is mostly how it works. When a group forms, they have certain rules, they have group leaders that may shift or not shift, and there is a whole group dynamic to it that makes it very difficult for the autistic person to understand. Now, there's a lot of talk about inclusion and social inclusion and how important it is. And indeed, it's quite important. But social inclusion cannot really exist without social acceptance. One needs the other. So first, let me give you an example of social inclusion. We've all heard the word inclusion, and basically it means you get involved in anything that has to do with society and groups. You get involved in your ballet class, you are allowed to or are able to go to the library in your wheelchair, and so on and so forth. The whole idea behind inclusion is to involve people who have a disability or a mental illness or whatnot, who have difficulty involving themselves in daily societal life, to get them involved. Now, as beautiful as this may sound, this is also quite tricky. Social inclusion does not necessarily mean it's for the best. When you're socially different or when your needs are different, social inclusion won't always work for you. Let me illustrate this with an example. From my own life, even. Most of you will know that I'm working as a special needs therapist for children with multiple disabilities. I have worked in multiple teams who've all been very accepting of me and who I am. And most of them wanted to add social inclusion onto me. Every year, there's a big New Year's event where I work. And everybody gathers, every team gathers, and they have an awful lot of fun. For me, this is difficult. It's in an environment I don't know, with a lot of people I don't know, with a lot of external stimuli like light, sound, with a lot of social interaction. So all in all, the autistic's nightmare. Someone of a team I was working in that time told me, "You should come, it'll be fun. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll make sure you get there and get back home afterwards, but it'll be so much fun." That's social inclusion. They wanted me to be part of their group. They wanted me to actively be part of the group they were going to form at the New Year's Eve event. The problem is, they didn't really take me into account. What they did do was, they saw their group, right? So you have this number of people. They have group rules, and one of their group rules is that they have an awful lot of fun at those events, and they drink or they dance or whatever it is they do, they have a lot of fun. And they want to include me into their group, so they put me into their group, but expect me to abide to their group rules unconsciously. This is not always a conscious process. So you have autistic me being put into a group of neurotypicals, and they expect of me that I have fun in their neurotypical way, which doesn't work, of course. Now, when it comes to social inclusion on this level, they mean absolutely well. It's a wonderful thing that people want to include you, but they don't always take the extra step of thinking, what are their needs? So that's social inclusion. You have a group, people involve you into their group, expecting you to abide by their group rules. subconscious or unconscious projects, and not always meant in a bad way, but because in a neurotypical world, being part of the group is the best thing there is. They mean well with you and they want to involve you into their lives. Now, social acceptance is something completely different. Social acceptance is when you look at someone and you see their needs. For example, when you look at someone who's in a wheelchair due to whatever reason, doesn't really matter, and you see their needs, and one of their needs would be to go to a place where A, is wheelchair friendly, they can access without having to depend on other people, and B, also puts them at the same eye height as other people. Very important. That would be their needs. Another form of social acceptance, this again from my own daily life, is when a colleague asked me, when I see you in the street, what do you want me to do? Should I come say hi? Or do you want me to leave you be? That is really going into my world. That is trying to figure out what my needs are and matching it to their needs. That's going into communication about what your social needs are. And we all have social needs, whether we like it or not, whether we are socially not as talented as other people or not, we do have those needs. We do want to be accepted. And that's the main key. You cannot have social inclusion, aka working into a group or functioning into a group, if you don't have social acceptance. Because if you don't have social acceptance, you're supposed to function along with the group to the group rules as they were put up by a neurotypical majority. And that doesn't work if you're different. However, when you're socially different or different in general, doesn't really matter if it's autism or not, and people look at you and socially accept you and will actively discuss your needs and how to accommodate them, then you can work towards social inclusion. Let me go back to the example of the person in the wheelchair. Social inclusion versus social acceptance. Social inclusion would be, oh, we're going to have so much fun tonight, we're going to go out, won't you just join us, we'll make sure you get into the pub or whatever. And this person goes to the pub, needs to be helped into the pub because it's not wheelchair friendly, and all night people are standing up and the person is sitting in their wheelchair, not being able to make eye contact, not feeling at the same length as they are, aka not really feeling themselves. This might be difficult, but this is social inclusion. You're being pulled into a group without people looking at your needs, without really socially have accepted you. The better way would be, what are your social needs? And for this person in a wheelchair, this may be being at the same eye height of people. It might be different, but let's assume that for this person, it's being at the same eye height for people when they have a conversation. So next time, they can go to a wheelchair-friendly pub, and instead of all standing up, they can be sitting down at the same eye height, which makes it a lot more conversation-friendly, and the person in the wheelchair will feel a lot better in that group because they've been socially accepted. Back to the person with autism again, from my part on. I saw my colleague at the train station the other day, and she knew I was tired after work. She'd been working as well. And she came to me and she said, "It's okay if you don't talk to me. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I'm okay talking to you now and sitting with you on the train." Because she socially accepted me, it's easier to include me into a group because they know my needs and they can actually bend the group rules around it as well as I bend my own rules to fit into that group. And that's really critical for any type of social inclusion. So, to conclude this, because it's quite long, social inclusion cannot happen without social acceptance. Social acceptance is the communication into what someone needs and the acceptance of what someone needs. Social inclusion is the acceptance into a group, but without social acceptance, you'll have to bend to the group rules. With social exception, you can bend the group rules to fit your needs and the needs of others. I hope this was a bit clear to you as to how social acceptance versus social inclusion works. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.